So after some big news surrounding DC last week, with the Batman villains going to be getting new movies and Man of Steel 2 being in early development, we've now had some new updates that are just as big as those. There's a potential release date window for the Batman 2, news surrounding the showrunner of the Arkham Asylum spin-off series, and a reveal of the two people who will now be in charge of DC Studios. In this video, I'm going to be discussing all the news surrounding the Batman and the new executives over at DC, alongside giving you my honest thoughts towards all of it. Before I get into it though, if you want to keep up to date on any of my upcoming content surrounding the Batman 2, Matt Reeves' DC projects, and other upcoming DC films, then don't forget to support this upload by giving it a like rating, subscribing to the channel, turning on your notifications, and following me on social media via the links in the description. But without further ado, let's dive into the new updates surrounding the Batman and DC films. So last night there was some big news surrounding the future of DC, and one of those updates included the reveal that director James Gunn and producer Peter Safran would be the new chiefs over at DC Films. This news came from both Deadline and Variety, and while I will be getting into that more towards the back part of this video, the articles also gave some new information surrounding Matt Reeves, the Batman 2, and the Arkham Asylum spin-off series. Variety shared that while James Gunn and Peter Safran will oversee the DC film, TV, and animation divisions, they won't be involved with Todd Phillips' upcoming Joker sequel, nor Matt Reeves' follow-up to The Batman, since neither of those projects are set in the main DCEU. They are separate, and Reeves will have full control over his Batman world, which is of course exactly what we wanted to hear. And alongside that, they also mention when we might be seeing the sequel to Reeves' 2022 film. With the filmmaker and Mattson Tomlin currently working on the script, it mentions in the article that a completed screenplay is still a long way off, and that the sequel is not expected to hit theatres until 2025 at the earliest. Now, I did predict a while back that based on what Reeves has said and the time frame of other projects coming out, that we would likely see the Batman 2 between 2024 and 2025. And this confirmation of 2025 at the earliest means that we're going to have to wait a while before we finally get that sequel. But although we'll have to wait a few years, it's clear that Reeves and co are working hard on the universe as a whole, with updates on the Arkham Asylum show too. This comes a week after reveals that they are looking at adapting some of the Rogues Gallery into new movies, meaning that we're going to be getting a sequel to the Batman, the Penguin show, movies on famous and more obscure villains, and an Arkham Asylum series. When it comes to that Arkham series, the new updates from Deadline claim that HBO Max has hired Antonio Campos as the new head writer. If Arkham Asylum goes forward on HBO Max, Campos would be its showrunner and one of the executive producers. And Campos is no stranger to HBO, as he previously worked with the streaming service on the critically acclaimed true crime limited series The Staircase. So with the Penguin and Arkham Asylum, we have two shows being helmed by acclaimed writers and directors, and as said before, this whole Batman universe is completely separate from Gunn's new DC one, and it can have the full creative input from those involved. If Arkham Asylum comes to fruition on HBO Max, this could potentially be the first horror-based series for DC, as Reeves has said in previous interviews that he envisioned it as a horror movie or a haunted house that is Arkham. Even though HBO Max has yet to give the spin-off a straight-to-series order, if they like the script, then they will likely proceed with it sometime in 2023 following shooting on the Penguin show. So even if we have to wait a while for the Batman 2, it looks like we're going to be getting plenty of content with the spin-off shows to build up to that in 2025. Alongside the updates on the Batman, we also got the massive news surrounding Warner Bros. Discovery that they have hired Guardians of the Galaxy and Suicide Squad filmmaker James Gunn and DC Films producer Peter Safran as the new heads. Both have the new titles of co-chairman and chief executive officers, overseeing the overall creative direction of the DC universe across film, TV and animation under a single banner, which is titled DC Studios. The both of them will apparently report to David Zaslav, but will also be in close communication with Warner Bros. Film Group co-chairs and CEOs Mike DeLuca and Pam Abdi on issues such as marketing, distribution, and capital spend, and they are due to start as the heads of DC on November the 1st. According to the article, Safran didn't want to run DC alone unless there was a creative face leading it too, and that turned out to be his Peacemaker and Suicide Squad partner James Gunn. In his new role, Gunn is now exclusive to Warner Bros. Discovery and DC, which means that after Guardians of the Galaxy 3, he won't be able to make films with Marvel. James Gunn and Peter Safran said in a statement, "We're honoured to be the stewards of these DC characters we've loved since we were children. We look forward to collaborating with the most talented writers, directors, and actors in the world to create an integrated, multi-layered universe that still allows for the individual expression of the artists involved. Our commitment to Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, Aquaman, Harley Quinn, and the rest of the DC stable of characters is only equaled by our commitment to the wonder of human possibility these characters represent. We're excited to invigorate the theatrical experience around the world as we tell some of the biggest, most beautiful, and grandest stories ever told. We're especially enthusiastic about doing all of this with Mike, Pam, Casey, Channing, and the whole Warner Bros. Discovery team, and are grateful to David Zaslav, whose bold vision for the future of the franchise we share and allows for this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Most of all, we can't wait to bring you all into the story of the DCU. So what do I think of all of this news surrounding the Batman and the new heads of DC? Well, when it comes to the Batman news, I couldn't be happier with all the projects being announced, and it's really great that Matt Reeves gets to build out his world, have different filmmakers bring their artistic visions to that, and we as fans get plenty of content in different mediums. Yes, the news that we have to wait until 2025 to get a sequel to the Batman is quite a while, but as long as Reeves and the people involved get to really make that the way they want it to, and have all the time to make it the best possible film they can, then it leaves me with no complaints. We had to wait between 3 and 4 years for each of the sequels to Christopher Nolan's The Dark Knight trilogy, and look how great that turned out. Nolan made his take on Batman to the fullest of capabilities, and I expect that Reeves is getting that same freedom as well. The showrunner that has been attached to the Arkham Asylum show is also quite exciting too, and I'm just really looking forward to seeing how they build out this world, what characters and villains they focus on, and ultimately the quality of storytelling this poses. With James Gunn and Peter Safran's DC Studios being separate, it gives them the full potential to make this exactly how they want to. And speaking of James Gunn, Peter Safran, and the new DC universe, what are my thoughts on all of those updates? Well, it's key to stress that we really need to see what they do in the 4-year contract they've been given before we really judge if it was a good move or not. But if I'm going to give my opinion now before we see what they do, I actually quite like this news. One reason is that they have a creative filmmaker taking up one of the head roles at DC in James Gunn, and it's not just a money man behind the decisions. James Gunn's Guardians films, his Suicide Squad film, and even his earlier work on stuff like Zack Snyder's Dawn of the Dead shows that creatively, he's a great talent to have on board. He's a fan of DC, he loves comic book movies, and he even noted in his statement that with Safran, he aims to give filmmakers the chance to express individual voices within this connected universe. So essentially, they are aiming to build a connected universe, but allow the directors behind the films to have more individual freedom. This is one of the things I haven't loved about Marvel as of late, and seeing that DC are trying to bring the idea of a cinematic universe to life with more creative control for the filmmakers involved makes me really intrigued to see how things will develop. Again, I'm going to wait and see what Gunn and Safran actually do before judging whether this is good or not, but just from the outside, I'm actually quite excited for it. Having films like The Batman and Joker separate of this allows DC to do something that Marvel haven't done, and that is that they can have a cinematic universe that tries to build with individual artistic voices, but then also separate films that aren't brought down by having to connect to the visions of others and can be looked at in terms of being much more auteur driven. For those of you who are Snyder fans and want to see his vision be completed, I would say to keep in mind that James Gunn is actually friends with Snyder. He wrote one of his first films, and like I mentioned above, he states that he wants to support individual creative voices. So to me, that actually lines up with the sort of approach that the previous Warner Brothers restricted when it came to Zack Snyder. They interfered with his films and the films became weaker for it. So with James Gunn and Safran wanting to support the artistic visions behind films, I think that's a big win for DC fans, and it should also be a win for those who supported Snyder and wanted to see his vision come to life too. Who knows, maybe even Gunn and Safran will allow Snyder to finish his films on HBO Max as part of a separate artistic thing. I think basing that on the categories they've outlined, whether it be DC Studios or the separated stuff, then there's still a possibility. And if anything, this is probably the best chance of that actually happening. I'm probably one of the rare people on the internet who likes the work of Zack Snyder, Matt Reeves, and James Gunn, so I can understand if some of you guys completely disagree. But that's just my thoughts on it, and it does excite me because, as Gunn said, he wants to focus on the filmmaker-driven stuff, even if it's all connected. But that was my video discussing the new updates for Matt Reeves' The Batman world and the news on the future direction of DC under Warner Brothers Discovery. I'm interested to see how all of this develops in the coming years and what other projects and announcements are made to really build out the future of DC. Like I said, there's potential for a creative new universe, yet the room to bring the more separate projects to screen as well, like with The Batman and Joker. They can essentially do something more than what Marvel have had success at, and that to me is something to be excited for. I will be keeping you updated on any news that comes out, so make sure to stay tuned for more DC and Batman news in the time ahead. But let me know down below in the comment section what your thoughts are towards this news on the Batman and DC, and what else you would like to see with future projects from Matt Reeves and co. For much more videos and news on the Batman and DC, then subscribe to the channel and turn on your notifications. Also, if you enjoyed this video, remember to leave a like rating and follow me on social media via the links in the description. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed it. I've been Cortex, and as always, make some noise.